Riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. Here's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am your host and unreliable narrator, Garrett Harvey. With me as always, co-host to the stars, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing?
Doing great.
Have you recovered from last week's Garth Brooks experience?
I have continued to listen to Garth Brooks.
What do you mean?
Well, since last week, after we did the episode, I did not stop listening to Garth Brooks. I love Garth Brooks.
How did you find time for this week's album?
I don't know. I fit it in between Garths.
All right. What album did we have the pleasure of listening to this week?
This week, we listened to Chris Gaines' 1999 greatest hits album, The Life of Chris Gaines.
Boy, what an album. Well, Tim, I don't want to waste a single moment. This is quite a week. If you thought Garth Brooks was a handful, wait till you get a load of Chris Gaines. I'm not going to pussyfoot around here. Tim, do you hate this album?
I think so.
What
Yeah,
the fuck are you saying?
I know. I don't know on it. I don't know what the hell to make of this. The music's bad. The idea's bad. It's weirdly fascinating. I might love it. I don't know. Garrett, do I love this?
You might love this album.
I really don't want to love this album.
You know what? This is really, I think that we're going to be able to point to this as the moment you kind of turned the proverbial corner, Tim.
The moment I was asked to not be on this podcast anymore.
I was going to put it at a more macro level where you decided to make some crucial life changes and really accept all the stuff that you like in life, like Chris Gaines.
Yeah,
and
soul patches.
Others. Well, yeah, soul patches and just men's facial hair in general.
Yeah, all sorts of facial hair.
You like the way it looks. You like the way it feels.
I don't know if I like the way it feels because I can't grow any.
Oh, that's not what I meant.
Oh, throwing around some accusations here. Garrett, do you hate this?
Do I hate this album? Tim, as you pointed out, it is a fascinating experiment in humanity. One that the deeper I delve, the more interesting and complicated it became. So when you ask me, do I hate it? My initial reaction is to say absolutely. I fucking hate this.
That's probably fair.
Every week, we manage to find some fucking album that outshitties the previous week's album. I'm shouting and I'm sorry. We've barely started and I'm shouting.
I will say, this album is worse than last week's. This is worse than Korn.
Yes.
But I don't know if I hate it. I want to hate it. I know what the right answer is. The right answer is, of course I hate this.
Let's not waste any time. Is this the first time you've ever been exposed to Chris Gaines? Has he ever exposed himself to you in the past?
I don't think so. I guess I have heard his song that was in Forrest Gump, but other than that...
All right, I want to clear something up right now. He does not have a song in Forrest Gump.
He does,
soundtrack.
Right now. That's in Forrest Gump.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
That's not his song.
Garrett, what is your history with this album?
I have one cultural touch point from my childhood, SNL. As you may or may not know, Chris Gaines was the musical guest on an episode of Saturday Night Live in which Garth Brooks hosted. Troyal, apologies, in which Troyal never actually admitted the fact that he and Chris Gaines, let's just say, knew one another. It might be the best artistic expression that Troyal has ever produced, but not the Chris Gaines performances. You know what? Here's a good time for me to make a little PSA. If you're listening to this episode hoping to dig into the meat of the music here, I got some bad news. This is not going to be music heavy. Tim, do you think this is going to be a music heavy conversation?
I don't, but it never is for me. Can I ask you this? What songs did Chris Gaines play on SNL?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, all right.
Like I said, fast forward through the Chris Gaines. Tim, do you know the evolution of Chris Gaines?
I know everything there is to know about Chris Gaines.
Would you say you know his nooks and crannies?
I know at least the crannies. The nooks have eluded me.
Okay, well, I will sit back as you take us on the journey that is the rise of Chris Gaines.
Okay, well, Chris Gaines was born in Australia. His mother was on the Australian Olympic swim team, and his parents, from a very early age, hoped that he would become a famous swimmer. And then at age 5, his family moved from Australia to Los Angeles. He had a fairly normal childhood, it sounds like.
Tim, can I stop you for just a minute?
Is there a nook that I have missed?
No.
Okay.
Well, yes, actually, there is. I apologize. I couldn't help but notice you're kind of telling this story like it's a person that had this life.
Right. I'm describing the life of Chris Gaines. In high school, he met a guy named Tommy. Now, Chris and Tommy, they made a pact in high school to dedicate their lives to music. And they formed...
I'm sorry. I can't let this continue for just a moment.
I know what you're going into here. I'm not going to entertain it. Okay? Just let me tell the story of Chris Gaines. So he meets Tommy. They form this pact, and they also form a band called Crush. And Crush plays Los Angeles clubs. You gotta shut the fuck up, man.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Crush plays Los Angeles clubs in the early to mid 1980s, and he ends up quitting high school to record their first album, and then they embark on a 50 states in 50 days tour. His dad was pretty pissed off that he quit high school, so they go on this tour, but before they start recording their second album, Tommy, who was also a pilot, was flying to a show. He told Chris he would wait until morning, but he didn't. Crashed the plane, he dies, and that is the end of Crush.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm not going to stop you about Chris Gaines for now. But this Tommy guy.
Yes.
We can admit he's not real, right?
Tommy is very real. Tommy died doing what he loved. Flying and playing music.
In the band Crush.
In the band Crush. You remember Crush?
With Chris Gaines.
That's right. Okay,
All
anyway,
right, go ahead.
Chris was very broken up about this, and he retreats from the public eye for a while. His dad gets cancer, and so at this point, he starts working on his first solo album, which is called Straightjacket. This album, Garrett, his first solo album, it sold 12 million copies.
It didn't.
It did. Here's the thing, though. As big a name as he was in the music business, his friends say he was an even bigger name in the bangin' ladies business. He really wants you to know that.
I did come across a number of references in the literature and numerous specials produced about Chris Gaines that he does love women.
Yes, he loves having his sex with them.
And wants you to know that.
He also wants you to know that he once brought a chainsaw along on a tour for some reason. So in the next phase of his career, as he continues to produce solo albums, he kind of has some trouble. He's got his nice house in Malibu. I believe the way you like to phrase it, he's doing dope shit. But he starts having some financial trouble. His manager rips him off. He has to sue her to get money back. He falls asleep driving, and his car flies off a cliff.
Oh my God.
His face was smashed and disfigured to the point that the best plastic surgeons, the best that they could do, is make him kind of look like Troyal Brooks, which... I think that's where these internet rumors are coming from, that these two people are one and the same. Can
we talk about that now?
I think we should put it off for a little while. After this, his house burns down. He continues making albums, but he doesn't tour for most of them because of his gross, Garthy face.
But you didn't own... You didn't own any of these albums?
I never owned any of them. No. This was a kind of a cultural blind spot for me. At this point also, his sexual appetites reached epic proportions, and
Despite his garthed up face.
Despite his garthed up face. You have to remember, he's still a rich rock star.
Oh, okay.
He entered treatment for sex addiction. He was described as a 32 flavors kind of guy. Sort of the Baskin-Robbins of banging, if you will.
What does that mean?
Which is gross. He likes to have sex with different types of ladies, I guess. 32 different kinds of... Anyway, that brings us to today. By today, I of course mean 1999. But his solo albums have sold 50 million copies worldwide. No. And we have this greatest hits album. We have, again, as you mentioned, a musical appearance on Saturday Night Live, hosted by the equally great, almost exactly equally great country legend, Troyal Garth Brooks. And for more information, if you're interested in knowing more about this story, there's a great VH1 Behind the Music documentary. I'd recommend that to everyone. But now we do have to address the elephant in the room.
Yes.
And these are that there are rumors on the internet that Garth Brooks invented this guy out of nowhere in some sort of insane Andy Kaufman-esque social experiment to identify exactly what the public's limit on his bullshit was. And then he just went around attempting and failing to gaslight the entire world for over a year. But to say that they were the same person, that would imply that a 37-year-old Garth Brooks was literally attempting to pull a Miss Doubtfire dinner scene. He's just running back and forth, changing costumes. He's putting on and taking off a fake soul patch, all in an attempt to trick the public for absolutely no reason. Now, just imagine how absolutely out of his mind, batshit insane a person would have to be to do this. How self-deluded to think that anyone in this country would have the patience for this horseshit. Garth Brooks needs to be locked up immediately for his own safety.
Not to mention the fact that this does imply a level of self-esteem so low that the fact that he couldn't release an album under his own name for fear that the backlash would be too severe to his brand, he had to invent somebody. Maybe he has a personality disorder and Garth Brooks is Chris Gaines.
Brooks is not Chris Gaines, man.
Wait, hold on.
There's no way.
I have already let this go on way longer than I should. I cannot go any further in this podcast until you admit Chris Gaines is Garth Brooks.
I think of the two scenarios, it's actually more plausible that Garth Brooks has Chris Gaines as a prisoner chained up in some sort of basement dungeon. In 1999, he tried to release him, but the public was just like, the public refused to accept that soul patch wearing jackass. They're not the same person, man. Look at their hair. Look at their hair. One's got long black hair.
One's a wig, man.
I don't think that's true.
And he doesn't just grow that soul patch as a face wig.
I will admit that it might be a face wig, but only one of them's wearing it.
I guess technically it'd be more of a face merkin. I would say facial hair is more analogous to pubic hair than it is head hair.
Oh, yeah. It's a testosterone-driven thing.
So he's wearing a face merkin.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on. You keep getting me sidetracked with your various face merkins. You need to admit that he's the same guy before we can continue.
I don't think I can.
All of that history. Oh my god! All of that history you read was fake, man.
That
was all made up by a crazy person.
Answer me this: how would they convince a serious publication like VH1 Behind the Music to do an interview? Who are all these people on this interview?
Actors.
No.
Except for Billy Joel.
Yeah, Billy Joel vouches for him.
Billy Joel is an asshole.
Hashtag Billy Joel is an asshole.
For doing that. It wasn't even called Behind the Music. It was called Behind the Artist because they couldn't make it a real thing so people didn't get too confused. Tim.
I feel like...
No. We're not moving past this. You're not going to wriggle your way out of it. Garth Brooks is Chris Gaines.
I think they're
Garth Brooks is Chris Gaines.
I think they're different people. Listen to the different styles in music, man.
Right.
One guy, you can't turn from country to pop.
Listen, I listened to this asshole for a week straight, so we're going to record this episode, but we've got to come to an agreement.
I think, okay, meet me in the middle here.
What is the middle?
The middle is that it is equally plausible, at least equally plausible, that they are different people than they are the same person.
It's not equally plausible. All right. Oh, my God. Okay. Just for the purposes of continuing on with the show, Garth, I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to do this when we picked this guy. I knew this was going to happen, you fuck. For the purposes of moving on, Garth Brooks may or may not be Chris Gaines.
Okay, I like them odds. 50-50, it could go either way at this point.
I just want to point out, this is not the first crazy thing Garth Brooks did. This is the same man that refused roles in Saving Private Ryan and Twister.
Really?
One, because he didn't want to be shown up by Tom Hanks.
Well, I can understand that.
Yeah, T. Hanks is a powerful, powerful performance in that movie. Twister. Do you know why he didn't want to be in Twister?
I have no idea.
Because he felt the tornado was too much of the star. That's so super crazy.
Yeah, because I always thought that Will Smith turning down...
The Matrix?
No, well, that's one of them, but the other one that I was thinking of is...
Django Unchained.
Yeah, I thought he'd turning that down because the guy that wasn't named in the title of the movie might have been a bigger star. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But the tornado?
He didn't want to get shown up by the digital wind.
By wind, yes.
digital. It's not real.
Well, we don't know that either.
Oh my God. All right. Can we move on?
Yeah, first off, if you could convince me, and I maintain that you probably can't, if you could convince me that this entire thing is Garth Brooks as a satire of the whole 90s musician, like the Axl Rose, Kurt Cobain, MTV thing, I might say that this is a brilliant idea as satire. For two reasons, that's absolutely not what we're dealing with. One, because they're different people, and two, because Troyal, he's so sincere. He doesn't have the ability to do this.
Okay, well, first of all, again, not the same person. Or same person. Yes, God damn it. God damn it. First of all, they are the same person. Second of all, he didn't write a single one of these songs.
Did you look at who the people were that did write these songs?
Not really. General thoughts. What is brilliant about this album is that no two songs make sense together on this album.
Right. It is a true greatest hits retrospective of a man's career.
Right. Save for the fact that there are no other albums. Those are made up. You can't buy those.
Well, I'll admit I didn't look into that.
It's falling apart, Tim.
The weird thing was that, as far as I can tell, it was not billed as a pop album. This was billed as a rock album.
Rock and roll.
Right.
Classic
and
rock and roll.
The only thing I can say is that it is all adult contemporary, but the specific genre of any one song can vary wildly.
But never once crossing into rock and roll.
I'm also curious, if we go with your theory that this is Garth Brooks, is he proud or ashamed of this?
So proud.
Yeah, I think that he thinks it's good. I think the only reason he dropped this was because the public just didn't give a shit. Again, if your theory is correct, everyone thought this was really weird.
It was really weird. It was super weird. This man's insane. He is a 37-year-old man putting on a wig and a soul patch to sing adult contemporary songs. Oh, did we mention the mascara?
Well, no, I will admit, Chris Gaines wears a lot of makeup.
Who had any idea?
And, to your credit, he does seem to wear a lot of that makeup just around his daily life, if the VH1 is to be believed.
All the time.
Yeah.
Gets up in the morning, puts on his wig and soul patch, face merkin, and his mascara, and goes and does his errands. Who had any idea that Chris Gaines was the inspiration for Chris Angel Mind Freak? Those two look identical.
They do.
Which raises the question, is Chris Gaines a mind freak?
As you mentioned, Chris Gaines did not write any of these songs, and neither did Garth Brooks. He doesn't have a single co-write on any of these.
Nothing.
So I did a little research into who did write these songs. Is this a secret Christian album? Was my conclusion. Because
interesting.
There's a small group of people that wrote a good portion of this. Two of them are members of the Christian band White Heat, who I have never heard. Other fun facts, though, Gordon Kennedy wrote some songs for Eric Clapton, and Tommy Sims was the producer of Bruce Springsteen's Streets of Philadelphia, a song which won 4 Grammys and an Oscar.
That adds up, man. All of those bands are in this album. And we'll get into it in the song by song because, and I'm going to apologize right up top. Get ready for a lot of this sounds a lot like, because, my God, they just stole. They liberally and almost admittedly stole. Ugh.
Lyrically, this is, in large parts, a Christian album.
Is it?
I think so. It sounds... Well, what it is, it's not a Christian album. It's a reverse Cartman. A lot of these songs sound like he took Christian music and then scratched out Jesus and wrote Baby instead of Cartman.
Ooh, Tim, you're onto something here.
Yeah.
Not only is Chris Gaines actually Garth Brooks, but he definitely did that.
I believe the second of those two things.
I'm just going to keep pressing it. Oh, you know what? I got to stop everything. It's time for a Chris Gaines fun fact. I have gathered a collection of fun facts about the alleged Garth Brooks, a.k.a. Chris Gaines. Are you ready for a Chris Gaines fun fact?
Yes, I am.
Before the band Crush hit it in 1985, the two main band members would tell folks when they asked they wanted to be the next Lennon and McCartney.
That seems... overreaching.
They had been a band for exactly 3 weeks. But, you know, I would find that terrifically obnoxious, but it's not real and it didn't happen. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying about this album?
The one good thing that I can say about every one of these songs, not a one of them will ever get stuck in my head. This is no Sublime. These are all boring and forgettable, and I don't even remember what any of them sound like anymore. I listened to it this morning.
I have 3 of them stuck in my head constantly, and I will sing them to you later.
That's fine. They'll just go in one ear and right out the other. This is the first and only album we have done so far in which Genius Annotations has not a single annotated line. The internet also does not care about Chris Gaines.
Yeah, they've weighed in. No thank you. Let's dive into these songs. Track number 1, That's the Way I Remember It.
I was worried whenever he plays the first couple of chords on an acoustic guitar.
Uh-oh.
Because I thought, oh God, I might like this.
I was hoping. I got so excited.
It starts off so promising.
Yes.
And whenever I say so promising, I mean it sounds like the Wallflowers, which...
This will not be the last time the Wallflowers are referenced in this episode.
Yes, but then his dumb voice kicks in.
The lyrics are sung in the same basic pattern as I Swear by Boyz II Men.
That's not the last time Boyz II Men will be brought up either.
Of course not. Now, when I say Boyz II Men, though, this is some sort of fat, dumpy white guy Boyz II Men. It's also the first of many songs on this album that feature a collection of black gentlemen as backup vocalists that are far better at singing than the gentleman that's singing a lead.
They may, in fact, be Boyz II Men. I don't know.
We don't know. It could be Chris Gaines, could be Garth Brooks, could be Boyz II Men.
He seems to be courting sort of a middle-aged suburban white lady going through a divorce as his audience.
Yeah, I was very confused who this song was for.
Well, I couldn't even get a good read on what this was about.
I am worried that we're not going to be able to play enough of this music for people to really understand, because we know, you're not familiar with this.
Yeah,
Nor
go out and get
be.
the album. Chris Gaines.
You know what? I can't even tell people to do that. The only place you're finding this is on YouTube. It's not on any streaming that I found. Even from the first song, I can hear him struggling to not sing it as a country song.
I don't know why he would have that struggle, though.
I can just hear his voice heading towards that range.
Right, but why would Chris Gaines' voice attempt a country range?
You are infuriating. Because he's Garth Brooks.
I hate this song. Number 2, Lost in You.
First single from the album, and might I say, Garth Brooks' highest charting single ever.
Yeah, it was a top 5, right?
Number 5.
Yeah, more evidence that 1999 was terrible.
Yes. This song is among my least favorite on an album of shit.
Completely agree.
I thought it sounded like the song starts kind of like I Love Her by the Beatles, and I Love Her, and then morphs into like kind of a Clapton-y, Tears in Heaven, Change the World sort of a feel.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of Tears in Heaven going on in this album. We don't have any Genius annotations for this, but can I give you Deborah Evans Price of Billboard, what she has to say about this?
Sure.
She described this as containing easy beats, supple guitar strumming, and a chorus that flows like a lazy stream on the most pleasant of days.
I'll agree with all that.
Yeah, but it's not, none of that's positive, right?
None of that is rock and roll. This is
Axl Rose in the early 80s, man.
No.
What
are you saying?
Not.
This is if somebody were to hear Train and say, great, but if we could make it less profane. No one was making this music in 1999. This song doesn't make any sense.
This was the year that Fred Durst invited J-Devil on to do the Fucked Me. Just needed to get that in again.
Yeah, of course you did. It was the year that Fred Durst announced why he did it. Do you recall why he did it? For the nookie, Tim.
Oh, he did do it for the nookie.
Yeah, not that damnable cookie. And that just speaks to 1999. If I may for a moment, I looked at the charts, and we'll get into how this thing performed, but the music that was around in 1999, you had Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Creed, all with their debut albums. Holy shit, we were ready for a roller coaster of garbage.
That all sounds right.
That's how you get a number 5 single out of Garth Gaines.
Yeah, this is just forgettable, and I think we should move on.
Yeah, you're not going to get any argument here. Track number 3, Snow in July.
It's not very good.
No, and This is what I was concerned about with this episode in particular. The music here is so terrible that I find myself struggling to say anything about it. Like, I can get into the odds and ends of it all, but at the end of the day, it's just plain terrible. It took 4 people to write this song.
Yeah, and it's not like they're getting credit for sampling or, it's being based on something. No, these are people that sat down in a room together and thought, let's write something meaningful.
I think it's about the dissolving of a relationship, maybe. Things were hot in the winter, but now they're cold and it's snowing in July.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't
give a
care.
Shit.
Yeah,
fuck this guy.
Time for another Chris Gaines fun fact.
God damn it. I already hate these.
His debut album, Straightjacket, in 1989, spent 224 weeks on the Billboard Top 200 and won a Grammy for Album of the Year. And of course, let us not forget that this is all just the fever dream of a psychopath, and none of these things actually happened.
Song number 4, Drifting Away. When you first heard this, did you think to yourself, Chris Gaines could use a few more boys?
What?
No? Okay.
No. First of all, no. Second of all, I'm going to need you to explain yourself.
It was essentially a Justin Bieber-y kind of pop song. Now, there were some Boyz II Men backing vocals at some point, I will admit that. But I want the lead vocals to have more boys.
Okay, so I think what you're saying, I hope what
and
you're
by
saying...
boys, I mean a 37-year-old man.
Right, with a wig and a sun badge.
He's so terrible. I hate him so much.
I can't go out yet. I don't have my mascara. Did you watch the NBC special he did?
Are you talking about that Garth Brooks did, right?
Yes.
Yes, where he's explaining his take, and I don't know why he would do this. What's it's irrelevant. But Garth Brooks, for some reason, takes it upon himself to explain his take on Chris Gaines.
Yes, he is.
And he seems to find him attractive.
He does comment repeatedly on how attractive Chris Gaines is, and never once mentioning the face merkin or the mascara on the fat adult man. This song opens like a child practicing his guitar scales. Jesus fucking Christ, man. This would be a country song by today's standards. And I think that secretly, if you started at the exact same time as God Bless the USA, it's the same song. You can welcome back those talented black backup singers. I'm sure they're all back there just trying to figure out how to kill this guy and take over his life. Man, I think I could put on that face merkin and that wig and I'll be Chris Gaines. Oh, God. And I don't blame him.
If I may read some lyrics here.
Please.
I know you could save me from myself. At night, you can hear it cry as the teardrops fall from heaven's eyes, falling down. Fucked me.
No, they don't say fucked me.
No, but they do whisper a little.
They do. They totally do. But I want to make real clear, no one says fucked me in there.
J-Devil also wears quite a bit of mascara.
He does, but
out there. Maybe J-Devil is Chris Gaines.
Oh
new
my
theory.
God. We might have a new theory.
Jonathan Davis of Korn, right after he did Follow the Leader, is that the album?
I think so.
In 98. Right after he did that, he decided he wanted to do something a little more positive. And so he put on a merkin and... Yeah, I'll buy that one. It's not Garth Brooks.
That adds up.
It could be J-Devil.
Yeah, I was pretty firm in my dedication that this is, in fact, Troyal Brooks. But you know what? It really could be the lead singer of Korn. I would like to read some lyrics, if I may.
Absolutely.
It blows, and nobody knows where it's going to. In that sentence, what is it? I'll read it again. It blows, and nobody knows where it's going to.
Could it be the wind?
I don't think so. Is there mention of wind in the song?
I don't think so.
Well, I just want to see if you knew what it was. Because it is mentioned throughout the song. This song's kind of about a real jerk. Basically, he's just like... Hey, babe, I don't know that I want to, start a new relationship. Because you know how, eventually I get bored and start fucking other women?
Yeah, which, again, is not a Garth Gaines-like characteristic. He is a one-man woman, at least until the divorce. But now he's a one-man woman again.
One woman man.
Yeah.
The fact that you fucked it up twice.
I don't understand genders. I am woke.
Oh. I thought you were just not very picky.
Well, I think in today's world that is progressive and woke. So
congratulations on your wokeness. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Track number 5, Way of the Girl. Hands down, Tim, my favorite song.
Yeah, this is just a good song.
No, oh, wait.
Kind of rocky. It's got great lyrics.
No, I was joking.
Oh, me too. I hate this song.
Oh, dude, this song, the chorus is embarrassing. In a number of the interviews and specials that I watched with Garth Gaines, he repeatedly says that how much Chris Gaines reminds him of Prince, which, first of all, is so crazy. I'm not saying CPA needs to be called, but maybe somebody should check on those kids. I've heard that they eat without using their hands. I can't speak to the sanity of Trisha Yearwood. She might be a lovely woman. But somebody needs to check on those kids, because this crazy maniac might have them all in wigs and face merkins.
He's spending his kids' food money on fucking face merkins. A lot of these songs have just very few lyrics. Like, this is the second song out of, we're on 5 now? So 2 out of 5, they couldn't come up with a second verse.
I'm glad you brought this up. I did some math. This song has 125 words in it. Let me start over. Tim, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. There are 125 words in this song. That sentence had 11 words. It took me 2 seconds to say. Why is the song 3 minutes?
And a lot of the words are just, because he repeats, it's just the way of the girl. Would you like to repeat, it's just the way of the girl?
That's just the way of the girl. That's just the way of the girl. It's pretty good. So I have sung 80% of the song. And I would say I did 90% as good. I think that this is notable because it makes you listen to the worst guitar solo in the history of music twice. Because again, as you mentioned, there's not a lot of words.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the probably early 90s rap sensation Snow?
No.
Nor should you be. This song opens exactly like the hit single Informer from the 1991, I think, Canadian white rapper Snow. Look up the album, 6 Inches of Snow.
Wait, his name is Snow, and he titled his album 6 Inches of Snow.
Right? You'd think you would go with something a little more braggadocious?
Maybe they're just more honest?
Oh, I just assumed it. Wait. I feel like you're revealing quite a bit in this episode. My point is, that song came out like a decade before this one, and they sound shockingly similar. What the fuck, man? Like, not only is the music bad, it is not for anyone in the era in which it was written. And the chorus that I sang so well earlier, it's just creepy.
Yeah, well, this whole song has a pretty stalkery vibe to it. Now, you can say there's a lot of songs in rock that if you break them down, they're kind of creepy. Like Beatles songs. Yeah, there you go. It's fun, right? But let me read the lyrics for this here.
Oh, good.
What's this creature about? You pursue her in mazes, always one step behind.
I think women, and I can say this probably without having to check with a single woman, love it. They love it, Tim, when you call them creatures.
Oh, yeah. No, you don't have to check on that. That is accurate.
Yeah. If Garth Gaines teaches us anything, it's that women enjoy being called creatures. Let's move it along to track number 6, Unsigned Letter.
This is just a Wallflower song, right?
Yes. And okay, so I know I said Way of the Girl was the best song. Honestly and objectively, for 1999, Unsigned Letter is the best song. If you told me this was and I love that you said Wallflowers, that's exactly what I thought. If you had told me this was a deep cut Wallflowers or Eve 6 song, I wouldn't have even batted an eye. He's doing the kind of like raspy whisper sing thing that Matchbox 20 was doing, that, as you pointed out, the Wallflowers were doing. He is pulling it off here. It's just a Wallflowers song.
I believe this song is about luring some girl in to kidnap her.
Okay, well, what gives you that impression? Maybe you're reading into it. Go ahead.
Okay, so she gets an unsigned letter from her secret someone, and she's intrigued with the mystery.
Who wouldn't be? I enjoy the flattering notion that somebody's admiring me from afar.
who has invited her to come to the city of Boston and whatever he plans to do with her there.
Doesn't get into it?
No, I think that's left to the imagination. I think he wants you to think it's something benign.
I'm going to stick up for Garth Gaines on this one. I don't get too stalkery a feel from this. That brings us to track number... Tim, we're halfway there. Track number 7, It Doesn't Matter to the Sun.
It don't matter to the sun.
'Cause it don't matter to the sun.
I kind of like the title, and this starts off promising with the acoustic guitar intro. And then the lyrics are nonsense, and the adult contemporary soft rock.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this other than I think it kind of starts out at maximum country for this album. Mm-hmm. This would definitely be a country song by today's standards. I don't have shit to say about this song.
Number 8, right now.
Maybe it's the movies, maybe it's the books, maybe it's the government and all the other crooks, maybe it's the drugs, maybe it's parents, maybe it's
what the fuck is this?
This is awesome.
Let's start with what he is ripping off. Sampling? I don't know what to call it.
It's not sampling.
Well, no, it's not sampling.
This is no more sampling than whenever Eminem stole Zombie by the Cranberries and sort of rapped at parts.
Well, that at least was the Cranberries singing. This is Garth Gaines singing. So, in this song, the Youngbloods classic chorus, Right Now, is sung in between... Boy, and I don't even know how to explain this.
Rapping. It's rapping.
It is rapping. Chris Gaines raps on this album.
Yeah.
And if there was one song to listen to on this album, I might say go ahead, folks. Google Right Now. But get ready. Have one of those stress balls. Don't have your kids in the room. You'll strike them. You'll be so angry. And listen to this because he, in between when he rips off the Youngbloods Right Now, he raps. And it is embarrassing for me, for him, for you, for Garth, for Chris. And Chris isn't even real. Like I said, if you Google one song, Google this one because it is bizarre. If you Google 2, Google Way of the Girl.
It's a good song.
It's not, but it is.
It's fascinatingly bad.
I don't want to get into hot water here, but there's really only one word that sort of makes sense, and it's a classical use of the word, so I hope that no one takes offense. It's queer.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in the modern parlance. It's so peculiar that an adult grown man would be doing this. Do you have any lyrics?
Yeah. Maybe it's the high school, maybe it's the teachers. Tattoos, pipe bombs underneath the bleachers. Maybe it's the music, maybe it's the crack, maybe it's the Bible. The main theme of here are things that exist, I think.
Yes, because he never lets us, the listener, know why.
Yeah.
Is it the downfall of man?
Well, yeah, so like the whole structure, again, as you said, it's him saying, maybe it's the blank a whole bunch of times. And what is? Right? Like, right. I feel like we're supposed to be jeopardying our way back to figure out what the question is.
Sure.
And I couldn't do it.
I think he doesn't like any of those things because he lists crack.
Yes, right.
Nobody likes
crack. But he
crack.
also lists crack alongside of high schools, teachers.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing. He lists music, Bible, high school, teachers. These are things that I assume that Chris Gaines or even Garth Brooks might enjoy. But then he also lists tattoos, pipe bombs, crack, immigrants. I guess these are negatives.
I think he's disgusted with all of it.
Could be.
Hard to know, because you'll be hard-pressed to find Chris Gaines today.
Yeah.
Can't ask him.
He's back in that basement dungeon at Garth's house.
Right. The whole thing, it's definitely not that, because it's not real. But the whole thing is set to this weird 80s German pop background music. Yeah. It's so great. Like,
it kind of sounds, it's got like a Devo or something.
Yeah,
kinda.
Totally a Devo, or if you're familiar with Men Without Hats, Safety Dance.
Oh, yes.
S-S-S-S-A-A-A. It's definitely that. Oh, man, we can dance. Everybody look at your hands.
So again, we don't have any genius annotations for this. However, we have critics from fairly reputable magazines that have reviewed individual songs. PopMatters.com, they called this edgy and political, yet an oddly charming anthem.
It's not charming. It's not charming in the least. It's hilarious. Yeah, listen to this song. And again, if you get done and you have time, go ahead and listen to Way of the Girl. Anything else, Tim?
No.
All right, track number 9, Main Street.
Never did the
Another fucking Wallflowers song. Are you kidding me?
I agree. I completely agree. I also got, and maybe it's just because of the use of the main street, but it sounded like a poor man's Bob Seger's Down on Main Street.
Yeah.
The chorus is brutal. It's an ear beating. I can't even do it justice. Don't Google it. You don't need to hear it. To me, it's just a really bad Garth Brooks country music song.
So let's move on to number 10, White Flag. I just don't understand why anyone would have written any of this.
He does get racial right up top. He says, I say black, you say white.
Yeah.
I don't know if he checked with anybody, but literally no one was asking what Garth Brooks thought. Chris Gaines. What Chris Gaines thought of racial tensions in America.
Well, if Garth Brooks was in those LA riots, if you remember from last week.
Shut up.
Fair
Can I ask you a question, Tim? Oh, before I do, though.
Oh, god damn it. Another fun fact.
It's time for another Chris Gaines fun fact. Which one do I want to go with this time?
How many do you have to choose from?
Too many. You may have mentioned, Tim, that his mother, Carolyn Johns Gaines, was a member of the Australian Olympic team. But did you know that Chris Gaines' father, Gene Gaines, was the former coach of the U.S. and Olympic swim team?
No.
Chris Gaines fun fact.
It's a good one. Can we move on? I don't want to talk about
I'm
White
sorry.
Flag anymore.
I have to ask you a question about this song.
I hate it.
That was the most authentic goddamn it I've heard on this podcast.
I'm really upset.
Okay, one question. Do you mind if I read some lyrics? Love won't have a chance if all we do is just fight about it. One more time. Love won't have a chance if all we do is just fight about it. My question, Tim, what is it?
Chris Gaines does not do a good job of explaining what its are on this album.
I wonder if it is the same it in all the songs. And if that's the case, then I definitely need to find out what it is.
So it could be any of the things in Right Now.
Yes.
Okay, so love won't have a chance if all we do is fight about pipe bombs. Love won't have a chance if all we do is fight about crack.
Yeah. I think what he's saying with this song, Tim, is that we can't focus on the minutia.
Okay.
That's not what he's saying. He's not saying anything because he
has
isn't
nothing
real.
to say.
Well,
Well, he is real.
He's not real.
We're listening to his... Garrett, if he's not real, we have wasted a lot of time reviewing
We have
fake
wasted
albums.
so much time. How do you not know how much time we have wasted?
I don't think we're wasting time.
I know, and that is part of the problem. Speaking of wasting time, track number 11, Digging for Gold.
I have a couple of This Sounds Likes for this one.
Sure.
It starts off in the intro and then again in the bridge of this song. It sounds kind of like Blind Melon. Again, not a good
That's
Blind Melon.
so generous.
I'm not saying it sounds like a good Blind Melon. It sounds like Chris Gaines is trying to rip off Blind Melon. In the chorus, that's fucking Footloose.
Oh, it's totally Footloose. I had a different reference for it. You might recall a little hit film starring Rodney Dangerfield and a madcap group of caddies known as Caddyshack. At the end of that, you will recall a dancing gopher.
Oh, yeah.
I'm alright.
Yeah.
It sounds just like that to me. Every single time, I would immediately smile and then frown twice as hard because there was no dancing gopher.
Yeah, I was sad there's no Kevin Bacon. Is Kevin Bacon in Footloose?
Kevin Bacon is definitely in Footloose.
All right.
I think that this is... You said Blind Melon. Again, I get it, but very generous. I say Bad Train Song. Either way, totally misses the mark. And the chorus sounds like a weird 80s pop song.
Yeah.
Which can't possibly be what they were going for.
I don't know.
No one knows. And you can't ask him. If you can get Chris Gaines on this show, Tim, I will give you $1 million.
Wait, okay, so in your mind, I could also collect that $1 million if I put a merkin on Garth Brooks' face and force him on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know why you think that's going to be easier.
Well, because I don't know where Chris Gaines is. I know exactly where Garth Brooks is.
At all times.
Garth Tracker 2000. Can we not talk about this song anymore? We're
You're
almost
welcome.
done. We're so close.
We're so close. Track 12, maybe.
The intro on this and sort of the background music sounds like he's trying to rip off or style it after like a Magical Mystery Tour song. There's like a little bit of maybe She's Leaving Home in the orchestral part at the
Okay.
the end.
Yeah, She's Leaving Home. I hear that.
build at the end.
I heard Rainy Days and Mondays by the Carpenters.
Okay, yeah.
But I did some more math. Are you ready for some song math, Tim?
I love song math.
Yeah, okay. So this song has 116 words in it. It is over 5 minutes long. What else is there to say?
That makes sense. That adds up.
I have nothing to say about this song. It's over 5 minutes and there's 116 words.
This song, to me, the only way it makes sense is if it's a song about female empowerment. Did you also get that?
I did not.
Maybe I could stand alone. Maybe I'm strong as stone. Even though the bird has flown, maybe she'll fly on home.
Is it about lesbian female empowerment? Which is fine.
Wait, we didn't ask the question yet.
I was getting there. I wanted to hear your argument for female empowerment.
Oh, that's just reading the lyrics.
I
I think it speaks for itself.
It doesn't. So that does bring us to a very important question we ask with every album. Tim, Chris Gaines, in the life of Chris Gaines, greatest hits. Does Lena Dunham approve of this album?
I don't know.
Tough call, right?
Yeah, there's nothing that she would like necessarily, but
Sure.
I don't know that there's anything in here that would detract too much. Like, it's it's just sort of a big nothing.
Yes, that is the problem. This is the hot air balloon of albums. I think that she would approve if your theory about female empowerment stands true on this song.
Yeah, but the song right before this seems to be sung from the perspective of a rich man who believes his new girlfriend or wife is a gold digger.
I think he's wondering if she's a gold digger, because he does ponder, some are in for love and some are in for romance.
That's true.
Which I had a hard time distinguishing between love and romance, as I do in real
always
life.
do.
I think Lena Dunham approves of this album. We'll check with her, of course, but I didn't hear any references to the patriarchy. I don't think that this helps to support misogyny. What about you? I mean, I think he checks his privilege.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing. If your theory is correct, and this is Garth Brooks
Sure.
as Chris Gaines,
Yes.
then you have to understand that this is a man who was not content to take a single spot in the recording industry. He's taking 2 spots now as 2 separate men, which is preventing a female from getting her album released.
That's
maybe.
true. Boy, I don't know. I mean,
We're
we
just
have to
gonna
make
have
a
to
call.
ask her.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but we're going to have to make a call here. For the purposes of the episode, I want to say Lena Dunham approves of this album.
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Okay, we'll check with her. Track 13. My Love Tells Me So.
This sounds like an Electric Light Orchestra ripoff.
Interesting.
It sounds like he tried to mix Fixing a Hole with Mr. Kite, but's not very skilled musically or lyrically.
And has never heard either of those songs.
Right.
So I love where you're going with this. To me, it sounded like this is what you get with an unchecked Paul McCartney. Just like, ooh, I want to make it all jubbly wobbly. You don't have like John Lennon in the corner going, we're not doing that.
Pouting.
Yeah, no. End of the world or I'm out. We could make it kind of toombly woombly. I mean, honestly, like, this all adds up quite a bit because, as we all know, Paul McCartney was super keen on dressing up as another artist and going out on tour. I would argue potentially Chris Gaines is the modern day Paul McCartney. And by modern day, of course, I mean 1999. And by Chris Gaines, of course, I mean Garth Brooks.
I don't know, man.
Sure. Okay. And again, for the purposes of this episode,
Paul McCartney was a master of disguise. This guy, not so much.
he didn't just slap on a cheap wig and a merkin.
Right, no.
Hey, Tim, do you think that anyone on this episode is confused as to what a merkin is? If you
I
haven't
don't
looked it
think
up, and I
so.
apologize, it's our job as the host to inform you of what we're talking about at all times. A merkin, folks, is a pubic wig. It's a real thing. Google it. But yeah, so we're implying that he has some sort of pubic wig on his face.
So let me read some lyrics, and then let me read to you from the specific Pop Matters review of this song.
Sure.
So the lyrics here: give me a chance and I'll sing for you. I have a song for you. To be with you is a dream. I dream of you.
Wow.
It's not great.
No.
It's good, but it's not great.
No, it's not good. Tim, it's not good.
It's so bad.
It's really bad.
But okay, let me tell you what the Pop Matters people thought specifically of this song. It caps the album off in a way that makes you want to throw your Walkman at the wall. Okay, so right there, I agree completely.
I love these people.
Okay, that is an accurate statement, right?
Yes.
Now let me read.
I have destroyed 3 Walkmans this week.
Right. Now let me read the full statement. It caps the album off in a way that makes you throw your Walkman at the wall in amazement that any one man could be so fucking brilliant.
Brilliant! They're using the word brilliant.
Again, give me a chance and I'll sing for you. I have a song for you. To be with you is a dream. I dream of you. Are the lyrics to this song.
People are throwing the B word around way too easily. Did you hear the snapping?
No.
Okay, so
I tried not to listen.
You were not listening close enough. There was a section of this song, and listen, this is going to sound preposterous, so folks, you're going to be inclined to look this up. Don't. If you look anything up, look up right now, and of course, Way the Girl. This song has a section where Garth Brooks whispers in your ear while people snap like it's a jazz club.
That doesn't sound very good.
I'm not surprised you didn't hear it, though, because, and I didn't touch on this earlier, and I probably should have, this is not a very well-mixed album.
No, it's not.
I want to speak a little more generally, now that we've kind of talked about the songs, in summation here. So, as I mentioned, this album is poorly mixed, in my opinion. There are times where I had to turn it down because the backup music was distorted. And as I mentioned in that last song, you can't hear the snaps and the whispers, which in your case is good. But if you're looking to get maximum gains, you should probably be able to hear all the things that they're doing. So this leads me to maybe my most important question, obviously aside from the titular question. If you're Garth Brooks in 1999, there's what, 4 people, 4 recording artists in the world with more money than you?
Something like
it's
that.
It's like Madonna, Michael Jackson, Garth Brooks. And you want to create, for the purposes of this, Tim, I'm going to need you to just go along with it. Let's just pretend it was Garth Brooks for a moment.
Okay.
You're putting together a dream team to create a compilation album that is let's be real honest here. It's going to mimic classic song types and genres from other people. Wouldn't you spare no expense, we have a T-Rex, spare no expense on getting the best engineers, songwriters, and producers in the music business to do everything except for the vocals? And in some cases, you're going to hire other people to do the vocals. Why wouldn't you do better?
Well, he did hire those guys that produced that song that won Bruce Springsteen 4 Grammys and an Oscar. I think he might not have looked well enough into the rest of their work.
Maybe he should have. I think he maybe should have spent some time looking at who had won more recently.
Because it's not good. I don't know why. I think that he tried. This seems like something he put a shit ton of thought into. He put a shit ton of effort into personally. And it sucks. It just sucks.
The fact that he couldn't just say, hey guys, I'm going to release a quote-unquote rock and roll album. I think America, sure, some segment of his fan base would have said, fuck you. But I feel like a lot more of the rest of America would have just gone, oh, that's weird. Okay. But instead he had to put on that goddamn wig and a merkin and then vaguely make disputing references as to whether or not this other guy was real, depending on which special you watched. None of it makes sense. It was such a weird midlife crisis emotional episode.
This is a fascinating midlife crisis.
Yeah. I can only
hope
if your
theory
to
is to be believed. Man, buy a Corvette. Don't make Garth Gaines' life of Chris Gaines. Jesus Christ.
Okay, Tim. We've talked about it. These songs are fucking terrible. Obviously, America, and this album is widely regarded as a massive flop, which is why there's only the one. So clearly, it didn't sell any copies, right?
It did not sell as well as he would have liked, but it still sold ridiculously well. This sold 2 million copies in the U.S. alone.
What?
Yeah.
2 million copies. Let me put that into context for you. You know who else sold 2 million copies in their debut album?
Well, again, this isn't a debut album.
Fuck
this is
you.
a greatest hits album, but
Fuck
go
you.
ahead. In their debut album, who sold 2 million copies?
Taylor Swift.
That doesn't sound right.
Yep, Google it. Fucking 2 million copies in her debut album. Worldwide.
That's amazing. How many albums do you think a part 2 would have sold?
1 million. Which is still so many units.
But if you look at Garth Brooks' audience, there's like 21 million people that are up for buying a Garth Brooks album. So if your theory holds, well, maybe that's the problem. If he just had released it under Garth Brooks,
right,
you would have gotten half those people
yes.
to be like, you know what, whatever. Yeah. It's a Garth Brooks album. I'm a completist.
Yeah, it's better than that Garth Brooks album I didn't get, which they'd be wrong. Yeah, so as you mentioned, sold 2 million copies. It peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Top 100. Do you know who beat it out at number 1?
Nope.
Oh, well, stay tuned. Creed.
Oh, that is going to be a good one. I'm excited for that episode.
I am not looking forward to that.
Creed was also Garth Brooks, right?
They're all Garth Brooks.
It's Garth Brooks all the way down.
As you mentioned, this did gain his first and only to-date top 40 single, on the Billboard Top 100 with Lost in You at number 5. Pretty goddamn respectable for an album that everybody makes fun of.
I didn't write down any critics' reviews. We do have a rating from Robert Christgau. We don't have a review for him.
I think his name is Christgau.
Christgau? If you would like to guess what he gave this album...
Yes, I would definitely like to get. Quick recap, Robert Christgau is an insane reviewer who has written for every major music publication for the last 30 years. Usually we have a review. Tim will read the review. I will then guess whether or not Robert Christgau liked the album and guess the grade. Unfortunately, we do not have a review. He merely rated it a grade this week. Tim, am I dealing with a whole letter or is it a plus and minus situation?
Neither. This one we have a star system. So and he goes from 5 stars through 1 star or a little bomb icon.
Got it. So, Robert Christgau gave Chris Gaines, In the Life of Chris Gaines, 4 stars.
He gave it a tiny little bomb.
Oh, tiny bomb.
You were way off.
This is my first one. Big swing and a miss. Without any information, it's very hard to play this game.
It's difficult because he usually likes terrible nonsense for some reason.
Did you read any critic reviews? Was this the consensus? Do critics hate this album?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I just read what the people think. And the people have a lot of thoughts on this.
All right, so we will eschew the critics' reviews this week because it doesn't really matter. From what I read, it seemed like it was almost 50-50.
Okay.
Almost all of them, though, made the exact same conclusion. Why in God's name he thought it was necessary to create an alter ego? Did we even mention the fact that there was going to be a movie based on this nonsense?
Oh, we didn't.
I think we've been living in Gaines' world so long that we're leaving out crucial information. Folks, this was originally supposed to be a pre-movie soundtrack, one of those, for a movie starring Chris Gaines. Do you know what the movie was going to be about, Tim?
It was about the life of Chris Gaines.
Well, yes.
After his car wreck, right?
Sure. No. It was, in fact, about the life of Chris Gaines. But in the first 10 minutes of the movie, Chris Gaines dies. He is murdered or commits suicide. That's unclear. The rest of the movie is through the eyes of a superfan who is hunting down clues to prove that he was murdered and didn't kill himself. And Chris Gaines, a.k.a. played by Garth Brooks, would appear in flashbacks throughout the film.
I'll be honest, I kind of want to see this
They
movie.
were going to get the writer of Die Hard.
That's awesome.
Isn't that odd? And so
do you know
after
what this movie
was
going to be called?
In the Life of Chris. Oh, I do. I do know what it was called. Do you know what it was going to be called?
I do. Yep.
The Lamb.
That's right. The Lamb. Why on earth? You know what? I don't care.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so Tim, what do the masses think of this album?
On Amazon, there were 567 reviews.
Good God.
It got 4.3 out of 5 stars on average. 77% of people gave it 4 to 5 stars. A lot of them seem to have bought this on Amazon after they either, and I'm quoting here, wore their copy out, or their copy was destroyed in Katrina.
Wait.
I think the sales numbers might be artificially increased by that, because maybe 2 million people didn't buy this, maybe 1 million people bought it, and all of those people happen to be affected by Katrina.
There's more than one reference to Katrina?
There are more than one reference to their copy being lost in Katrina.
Okay, hit me with some details.
So we have a 5 out of 5 star review here that's called Stop Pigeonholing. I honestly would give this CD a 3.5 stars, but I have to give it a 5 just to outweight the morons who have written reviews here and or rated who just don't get it. Garth has been painted into a corner by the dumb, close-minded, rich, white, evil record industry. He is, quote-unquote, this, and his potentially even dumber fans, what do you expect from country music listeners, want him to be X figure to them 24/7, when in reality, Garth has far more facets. Admittedly, he probably should have just come out with this under his own name, period. It's still a catchy CD of songs that show Garth has a lot more talent than twang. It was a good effort, sadly his last. And I say sadly because if the dumb people, dumb press, and dumb industry didn't try to champion mediocrity, he could maybe do a few albums and get it right, really right. So basically, music loses, fans lose, and saddest of all, Garth loses from just trying to do something different. Humanity really sucks.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Humanity?
He has condemned humanity based on a few people not liking what is, I think we can agree, a pretty shitty album.
Yeah, it's not good. And I don't think Garth Brooks lost anything. He sold 2 million copies. It's not their fault they printed 5 million. They heard the album. They knew what they had on their hands.
Okay, this review is called Full Circle, Get Back Resonates with Hope. Thank you, Garth Brooks, for daring to create such a bold album. In the process, you have helped me to come full circle and have won my admiration, thanks, and respect. It's the year 2001, and I'm under the spell of DJ Neil Lewis on a hot dance floor in San Francisco one night. I'm surrounded by thousands of gay and straight men and women, and seemingly out of nowhere, I hear Jonathan Peters' remix of Garth/Chris is Get Back with its beautiful refrain rising like a chorus of angels of, come on people now, smile on each other. As the refrain repeated in an ever-rising melodic crescendo, I looked into the faces of the people around me and realized that we were all radiating and beaming with the collective unbridled joy. In that moment, it was clear that the universal desire for transcendence above the small things that seemingly separate us has not yet been extinguished. And then he goes on for 3 more paragraphs about...
That guy wrote that review on ecstasy.
Yes, he did. And now for a last review. Now I have to warn you up front. This guy does not speak English, and he's also currently having a massive stroke. But before he calls 911, he really wants people to buy this album.
Interesting.
It's written in 1999, and it's called Garth Brooks is Man. This album bees his most good. Okay.
And I don't want to make fun of people that don't have a firm grasp on the English language, but
this guy is way beyond not having a firm grasp. He's literally stroking out as he types this. I hadn't yet understand, so that said, hi. I got one cockroach in months ago. I guess she blind rodent swinging by. One of my apartment, one such an inch or at a word gallon of apples and steeps up. Large wooden... Sorry, hold on.
Shut the fuck up and read it.
Large wooden and the worst part of selling audiences to court, far enough work a hold to the restaurants trying to get another wonderfully weird dental dreams and the wall. The way. Making the Beverly Hillbillies.
No.
Pretty.
This is not a review.
Pretty from them being used, some aspects of them to recommend it was really want to the car I'm belongs by it up with documents, or some of the time I have really agitated. Hairless pony, report her. But of note, 2 people on Amazon claim that this was helpful. Now, I will admit I am one of those people because I want more of this man's postmodern, avant-garde reviews to be everywhere. But that means that somebody else read this and was like, yeah, you know what, I'll give this a try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I heard the album and that rings true. Apple bottom pony baloney Michael Savage sandwich pants.
Who is this for?
Ooh. I think it is for older women... I'll just say older fans of... No. You know what? I don't know, because if he had released this as Garth Brooks, he could have released it to his older fans as, like, safe rock and roll. Instead, he had to put on that merkin and eyeliner, and that's going to scare off any of the old timers.
Yeah.
But it's not for young people. It's not for country fans. It's not for rock and roll fans.
I think it's for women in their 40s who are currently getting divorced. I think it's for the Christian music market that wants to be able to say, I like secular music too, and here's an album I like.
If you make the statement, I like secular music too, you don't.
Yeah, this is true. The other group of people, and I think this is an important demographic, the other group of people are people that have already owned this album, that really enjoyed it, but then Katrina hit, and they lost their copy, and they would like another one.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely for people that lost their first copy in Katrina. Or potentially Harvey.
No, it was specifically Katrina.
I apologize. Specifically Hurricane Katrina. Yeah, I think it's definitely for newly divorced Christian mothers of two that are going out on a girls' night and want to tear loose.
What are their children's names?
Nathan, Brady, and then the other woman's is Natalie and Ashton. Final thoughts?
There's nothing... other than the two songs that you would recommend because of how good those two songs are.
That's not necessarily why I recommend them.
Well, the point is there's nothing to recommend on this. This is something that somebody is really proud of when they should be really embarrassed about it, right?
Yes. Boy, I'm glad you hit on that before we wrapped up, because that can't be emphasized enough. He's so proud of it. He thinks it went so well. And I don't mean commercially, financially. I mean when he looks back on that time in his life when he wore a wig, an eyeliner, and face pubes and goes, yup, we did that one right. That lack of objectivity is dangerous with somebody that has financial resources. This is how you get supervillains. He's going to put that stupid outfit on and ask for $100 billion or else he's blowing up San Francisco. Okay, let me ask that all too important question. Tim, do you hate this album?
Yeah, I do. How could you not?
How could you not?
What was I thinking at the beginning whenever I questioned it?
I think
this is garbage.
It's so bad.
It's insulting. I don't even know who I'm angry at. I don't know if I'm angry at Garth or Chris, but whoever's responsible for this sucks, and they need to be stopped. Garrett.
Yes.
You hated this at the beginning. Have I done anything to convince you that this was good? And remember, hairless pony, report her. I don't know what that means.
Hairless pony, report her is not a review. Do I hate this album? Yes. Have I changed my opinion on it since we started? A little bit. I have.
In the positive or negative?
On a whole, negative.
Okay.
Specifically, right now, and Way of the Girl, they're starting to grow on me, I think.
They're absolute garbage songs.
They are among two of the worst songs I've ever heard played as music.
But you like them?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, I mean, no.
No, you do. It's okay.
Yeah, I like them. I don't like them as music. I like them musically. Let's not dwell on this any longer. You hate it. I hate it. I like one of the songs quite a bit.
You like two of the songs.
I like two of the songs a whole bunch.
No, there's nothing else, man. I mean, this should be heard by everyone.
We've given it far more effort than Garth Gaines ever gave it. I think it's time we take off these wigs, we remove our soul patches, and we just forget about this whole mess. What do you say?
I'm okay with that.
This has been Why I Hate This Album. I'm Garrett Harvey.
Tim Richardson.
Let me help you with that wig, Tim.
You leave my wig alone.
The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.